I enjoy Starved Out because it just gives us the opportunity to dream. And just listening to all these different stories and people coming on and saying, you know what, I did it. I had this great dream in my life. I never thought it would happen, and then it did. And I'm thankful that Jared is gracious to share his platform and not only interview famous people, but just everyday people like me and Mark.
Welcome to Starved It Out. I'm your host, Jared Easley. Joining us today from the great Northwest is my good friend, Mark Severcrop from severcrop.com. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Now, you're no stranger to the podcast. You've been on before. Let's talk about that just for a real quick second.
Yeah, we were on back a long time ago. What happened to your career ages? So actually, it was a year ago from when we're recording this.
Something happened to you, right? You're not doing that anymore.
I got fired. The company has exploded since, too. I don't know why Scott didn't fire me earlier, but no, I'm doing more about networking now, so just kind of on my own and doing my thing.
You are very good at that. And, of course, our official co-host joining us from Maui, Hawaii, Aloha Kamanzi Constable.
Aloha, Jared. I'm excited to be here, but I'm a little intimidated by Mark. I feel like I'm in his shadow. He's so good.
Well, you should be, because Mark is a huge country music snob.
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah.
All right, we're not even going there, dude.
Yes.
There's a certain artist that Mark's going to appreciate. But instead of taking the light off of our guest, let's focus on Lily Kreidinger. Hopefully I said that right. Lily Kreidinger is a focused...
You got it, Jared.
I'll take it. Lily Kreidinger is a focused communicator, learning solutions strategist, instructional architect, content designer, wife, mom, blogger, speaker. You can learn more about Lily by going to lilykreidinger.com. That's spelled Kreitingger. Lily, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jared. It's awesome to be talking to you.
Hey, we are honored to have you. So I think you know this is coming, Lily. What is the best concert that you have ever been to?
Fortunately, I had about a year to think about this answer.
Oh, no. So shame on me for waiting.
No, it's good. It's good because I had to think about it. So I'm going to give you an answer that is unlike any other answer you've ever heard on the show. My favorite concert ever was one that my brother and his band put on in Mexico City about 15 years ago. And the reason it was my favorite is because I was the band manager, producer, ticket master, everything else. It was awesome. It was just an effort of this band to say, well, can we do it? They pulled it off. They did this concert for about 5,000 people, and it was incredible. So the whole experience of putting it together and then actually just being there in the crowd, it was fantastic. So that's my favorite concert. And I will say the name of the band, of course, nobody has ever heard of them. And they're not playing together anymore. Their name was Cultos Ocultos. So people can Google that and figure out what that means.
Does that mean I can't ask you what it means since you just told me I have to Google it? I can't even spell that. How am I supposed to Google it?
I know.
I think that's Spanish for Mark Severcrop is a great guest co-host.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a rough translation. It's rough, but it sounds right.
All right, Lily, you're no stranger to the show. Let's finish this sentence. And would you kick us off, Mark?
I would love to. Okay, Lily, finish this sentence. My favorite thing about Minnesota in the winter is...
Not the weather.
What is the temperature there today?
Wind chill this morning was minus 19.
Oh, well, if that's all.
You know, if people, I was going to say, if I do what people have been posting that meme on Facebook, it says I'm not going out till it's above my age. I need to stay home till July.
I'm sorry, Lily, about the things that I've been posting on Facebook about the weather. It's a little warmer here.
What's the weather like in Maui?
It's 84
boring.
today.
It's boring.
Ooh,
it's
cool
80
today, huh?
every day. It's boring.
Lily, you're not going to like me either. The weather here in South Florida is 88 degrees today.
I don't even like Mark. He posted
I'm doing better.
It's 40 and sunny. 40 and sunny. I said, shut up.
We have this random weather. It's like the entire continental United States is like getting hammered, and then there's the Northwest that somehow is like in the 50s in February. So,
which is pretty nice.
That is fantastic for now.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Back to Lily's also.
All right. So, Lily, finish this sentence. One of my best career tips is...
Do what you're really good at and don't wait for someone to pick you.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I just think people have this great idea that somebody has to knock on your door and say, hey, would you like to be a podcast host? and you go, oh, yes, sure, I would love to do that. When you can do that on your own. If that's your career passion, you want to blog, you want to write, you want to speak, you want to do anything, you just need to take permission, pick yourself, and go for it.
What if you want to take over somebody else's podcast and be the host?
Well, we're working on that.
All right. The comfort level of this podcast. Yeah.
Kamanzi, did you tell Jared our plans or what?
Dude, Mark, stop it.
Yeah. We like the idea of starving the doubts, but Kamanzi, if you could just simmer down a little bit, that'd be great. All right. So, Lily, we're having you on the show because you're very passionate about a lot of different things, and you've had some really cool wins recently, so we're going to discuss some of that. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you shared on your blog and other podcasts that going through Life Plan with Chris Lacurdo last year was one of the most significant events in your life. So how are you doing with that process almost a year later?
Well, it's been an interesting ride for sure, and I had no idea how it would change my life. And I had heard Chris talk about it, and I had read the books where the original material came from. As the author is Tom Patterson, so I've studied his material. And I thought, well, this sounds like a really good experience. But honestly, I went into it without even thinking what it would mean for me. I went into it more from the career perspective, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get some insight on how to go about the next steps in my professional development. And it totally took me by surprise when I discovered things about my personal life that were keeping me stuck in every other area. And clearing out those areas in my life has represented tremendous growth for me, for my family. It has definitely impacted positively my marriage, my parenting. And I can say that I'm on the way to becoming a much better person, having understood all those things.
Lily, for someone who's listening right now or saying Life Plan, I'm not familiar with that. Could you give them a little quick overview?
Yes, a life plan is a faith-based process that takes you through who you are today and the steps that have happened in your life to shape who you are. So you take a deep look at your life in 5 different areas. So it's your personal, your relationship with God, with your family, with your community, and with your vocation. So in each one of those areas, you identify what is right, what is wrong, what is confused, and what is missing. And then you start working from there and identifying patterns and trends in your life and the messages that God has given you throughout your life with relationships and things that had happened to you. And then you decide what it is that you want for yourself and what is God's purpose for you. Why did he create you? So it's a very intense process. It's about 20 hours of work with a life plan facilitator. And you get so deep into it, and it's guided through prayer. And it's really asking for God's Spirit to be in you and to help you discover what it is that you need to heal and to grow.
Wow. So one of the things, Lily, that I know being friends with you is not only are you passionate about this experience you had when you went to Chris and did your life plan, but you're passionate about helping other people redesign their life. Why is that? Why are you so passionate about that?
Well, it is like scripture says, when you find a treasure and you just want to go sell everything you own and buy that piece of land and keep that and grow it. That is what's happened to me. I have found such blessing in my life that I can't keep this to myself. And as a result of my own life plan, my life statement is that I was born or I was created to change people's lives. So that is why God put me on this planet, and that is what I want to do. So as I have discovered this for myself, I just can't keep it inside. I just need to share with others and say, hey, you can do this too. And I see people that are trying to grow in their marriage and their life, their professional development and their personal life. And I can now tell them we can work together and I can help you out.
And Lily, what you do, I can imagine that quite a few people like to share their stories with you. Do you see any common themes in any of those stories?
Well, it's funny that you say that because my husband jokes with me. He goes, the person at the cash register just shared their whole life story with you in 2 seconds. How do you do that? Like everybody I meet, they just sit with me and hi, how are you? And then all of a sudden they're telling me about their kids or their work or what they're worried about, total strangers. So I must have a gift in that sense. But I do see common themes, and the common theme is that we all want a better life. And most of us don't know how to get there. So I find that people just think that, well, life is what it is. You just deal with it. You just take it one day at a time. but there's this lack of guidance or direction. And how do I get out of the things that I don't like about my life? So those are the common themes that I see, that everybody truly wants a better life, and most of us don't know how to go about it.
And so when you met Mark, did you get the story from Mark? Did you get out of him?
I have so many stories about Mark that we would need another podcast.
Quiet. All right, moving on. Next question.
Can we help Mark heal a little bit on this podcast?
Mark's beyond help. That's the story there.
That's a huge undertaking. I don't know that I can commit to that.
Wow. Okay. So you like to help people redesign their life, except if you're named Mark Severgrove.
Right.
Except if you're named Mark Severgrove.
All right. Duly noted. But back to the point here, you do believe that people can heal their past and own their present and change their future. So, Lily, what does that mean?
This was actually a huge revelation for me. As I've been processing all this information, like I said, it's just not only a personal process, but something that I really am into. So I read a ton of books. So I'm reading books and I'm researching on this topic. And I found these 3 principles. People can heal their past if they take the time to sit down and look at the events, people, and relationships that have shaped who you are. And sometimes you don't understand things in your present and how you make decisions, how you parent your kids, how do you walk in your marriage. Sometimes you don't understand where things come from. But once you sit down and you start looking at your past, you go, oh, I understand now. This is how I was brought up. This is the values that were taught to me. These are the beliefs that were taught to me. These are the thoughts that have been put in me since I was young. And once you understand what is really good and you want to keep and what is harmful and you want to get rid of, then you can move on to what I call own your present. And own your present is what you and Kamansi and Mark and I and a bunch of us are doing, is being intentional with our lives. What do we want our life to look like? And we take the steps to shape it, even if it means working late, working early, working weekends, doing a side gig, doing something other than your day job, whatever it takes to really fulfill your passion. That to me is owning your present. And if you combine those 2 things and say, I understand where I come from, I have forgiven the people that have hurt me in the past, I'm taking intentional steps to have a better life today, I can decide where my life will go and what my life looks like in the future. So I'm not waiting for life to happen to me. I am taking action in where I want to direct my life.
So, Lily, with that, I want to jump back to the past part a little bit, because it seems like, I know I've done this, and I think a lot of people do it, where we just ignore our past. We just kind of pretend that it didn't happen. But what effect does your past have on not only how you can change your future, but what effect does it have on how you view yourself and how you view your future, how you look at what's coming in your life? How does that change once you look at your past and deal with that?
Well, I can tell you, and I'm okay sharing my personal experience, I thought that I had grown up in a really great family. And I think, my parents were great people, but the part about it that I didn't understand is that the relationship that we had as a family was based on their own upbringing and belief system. And there was a lot of things in there that were not healthy for anyone in our family. But I thought that was normal. I thought that was okay, that it was the way everybody lived. So, for example, I was brought up with a lot of praise, and I just wanted to be that perfect child. So I am the oldest of, I think I have 27, 28 cousins, so I'm the oldest. And I thought that everybody would look at me and say, oh, everything she does is just perfect. I never got any feedback on how I could be a better person. Everything I did since I was a child was perfect. Everybody's eyes were on me. And I used to think, oh, I always got so much praise for what I did. But I didn't realize that what that caused me was to become a perfectionist. And what happened is I became addicted to that external praise. So I had a really hard time, even as an adult, feeling satisfaction or pride in what I had done just for the sake of having done something good. I was always looking for external feedback of what I had done. So that's a quick example of, okay, I was raised in this way, and then I didn't understand as an adult why I felt so frustrated. For example, if I made a mistake or if things were not going my way, I would go, well, what happened here? I'm perfect. I'm smart. Everybody always tell me how great I am. And not understanding that that
self-value came from what other people told me about myself. So now that I understand that, I go, oh, I'm always looking for external validation. I can change that and understand that I am worthy just like each one of you are, because I was created by a loving Father who wants to give me all of his blessings. And that totally changes the game, because then you're not looking for people to approve of you. You know, I made mistakes and I will grow and I will try again, but it's not the end of the world. So that changed my perspective. And like that, you can find thousands of examples of what people do in their daily life as an adult that track back to how you were talked to as a child, how you were raised, and what kind of family environment you have.
So you've brought up family and friends quite a bit, and it's important to each of our lives. What role does family and friends play in redesigning your life?
I would say they play a huge role. And like I mentioned before, there's those 5 areas that we look at when we're working on a life plan process. And one of them is the family. So family can be your family of origin, or family can be, if you're married, your spouse and your children. It's one of the key areas of development in your life, because that's one of the deepest relationships that you will ever have. So I think the key role that they play is that you need to understand what values, again, and beliefs you want to carry over from your own upbringing into your own family. And say, you know what, my parents taught me responsibility. That's one of my core values, and I want to teach that to my children. That is awesome. But if you identify, you know what, my parents also used a lot of guilt in the way they talk to me, I do not want to pass that on to my children, then that changes the game. So in my case, what I have discovered is that, how can I put it? I am ending the cycle that happened in my family generation after generation of broken marriages, really difficult family relationships, because I don't want that for my husband and my children. So that is the role that they play. Is I want to be the best I can for my husband and my kids. I need to deal with everything that was given to me and take the best of it, and then eliminate all those elements that will not be helpful for us to grow.
Oh, that's well said, Lily. So what is one thing that the listener should consider doing before they would go through the life plan process?
I definitely recommend starting any kind of insight technique that you prefer. So some people are very good with journaling. If you want to start that, just do it. You don't have to wait until you sign up for a life plan with a facilitator. You can start the process on your own if you choose to say, okay, what it is that I love about my life. You can do a mind map. You can doodle on a napkin. You can write in a notebook. You can do a vision board. You can do anything that will help you right now understand what your life looks like, and then do what would I like my life to be in the future. So you do your sort of current state and future state, and then you can identify what steps do I need to take to get from point A to point B. So you can do that on your own today. You can start that and say, well, is there, and then if you're like me, you're going to start looking for resources and books and podcasts and all that. You can do that. But regardless of all of that, I would say, first of all, if you're a person of faith, start in prayer and say, God, I want my life to be the best it can be. I know you created me for a purpose, and I know you want me to be that person that you have imagined when you created me. So help me understand where my life is and where my life can go. And then go about mapping it, drawing it, like I said, any tool that you want to use. And then you can consider, is life plan something I want to do? Like I mentioned, it's a very intense process. It's a huge commitment, because after that, your life will never be the same. So one tool that I highly recommend is reading Tom Patterson's book, and the title is Living the Life You Were Meant to Live. And that's Tom Patterson's book. You can find it on Amazon, and it's an awesome book. So that will guide you through the steps, and that will give you an overview of what the life plan is about.
I can tell, Lily, that, it's something that you don't just kind of, wake up one Friday morning and decide, I'm going to go do a life plan next week. If you do that, it seems like you're going to miss something, and you're probably going to get smacked in the face when you get there. Not literally. I don't think Lily would actually smack you in the face, but maybe she would. I don't know. So with that in mind, what would you say if you were to go back to the younger Lily? What would you tell her about the life plan process and how it was going to affect you and your life going forward?
I would say do it today. Don't wait. Seriously, Because, I mean, my husband and I have talked about it after we came back from the session with Chris. We go like, this should be required before you even go into college and right after you graduate. Great graduation present, give a college student a life plan. Because I wish I would have known everything that I have discovered now, recently in the last year, 20 years ago. My life would have been so much better. But I also understand that there's another part of the right timing. So you know how the gift shows up when you're ready for it. Probably 20 years ago, I would not have been ready for it. I hope I would have done it a lot earlier in my life.
Well, I think Kamanzi's good proof of that. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that are happening now for Kamanzi, but he wouldn't have been ready for that 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely not. 5 years ago, I was in survival mode. So, yeah, you're spot on. So, Lily, as we start to wrap up here, and you can't say Mark. I guess technically you can say Mark, but who is doing?
Well, she just slapped Mark. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's doing something that interests you?
Okay, I have to put a big plug in for Michelle Couchette because she is coming out with her first book, Undone, is the title of the book. Undone, a story of making peace with an unexpected life. And I've been blessed to be part of the launch team for the book. The book is coming out March 10th. And her story is so powerful. And I am so thankful to be friends with her and to have met her in person and to have received so much from her as a communicator and to have learned from her as a mom and a wife and just everything she's gone through. She's struggling with cancer right now. She's recovering from cancer surgery and intensive chemo and radiation treatment. And on top of that, raising 6 kids. So I just cannot imagine what life looks like when you go through a difficult health struggle with raising a family, trying to be a wife, trying to minister, trying to run a business and all that. So I am thrilled to see this book come out. I read it probably in 3 or 4 hours. I just sat on my bed and read through it and cried and laughed. And it's an amazing book. And I think many people are going to be blessed with it. So check it out. And you can pre-order right now. And you can check it out on my blog too. There's a link to the order page for her book. So that is the person that I can't wait to see what God is going to bring to us with this book.
Lily, I think there's 2 people listening to this episode. Then one of them is going to say, well, this message of the life plan, that really resonates with me. And they're going to want to continue keeping in touch with you and learning from you. And then I think there's another person that's going to say, I just want to learn about good Mexican music. So what is the best place for the listeners? What is the best place for the listeners to connect with you online?
The best place is definitely my website, lilycreidinger.com, on Twitter at lilycreidinger. So either way, you can always connect with me. I am a social media junkie. I will reply to your messages at 3 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep.
Nice.
And also, are there CDs available for your brother's band? I think that's the other question that people have.
There are. We had some recorded. So, yeah. I think there were cassette tapes. So we may have not been at the CD age yet. So
Vintage.
I may have a cassette tape somewhere.
So, Lily, as we finish up, do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
Well, definitely. Thank you, Jared and Kamanzi and Mark, for this conversation. I was looking forward to it. I enjoy Starved Doubts because it just gives us the opportunity to dream. And just listening to all these different stories and people coming on and saying, you know what, I did it. I had this great dream in my life. I never thought it would happen, and then it did. And I'm thankful that Jared is gracious to share his platform and not only interview famous people, but just everyday people like me and Mark. And but I just want to say to anyone listening to this episode, you can take control of your life and you can transform your life today.
Let the record reflect, Lily, that I think you and Mark are doing great things. So
I was going to say, what I heard out of that was Mark said nobody. That's what I got.
Yeah. Oh, and one question that we forgot, Lily, is does your brother's band need any singers? Because I just started singing recently.
There you go. I'm sure he'll probably request a trip to Maui to do an audition, so you may consider doing that.
I think after this interview, Mark needs to heal his past and own his present and change his future.
I think so.
So I think he's going to listen to this episode and be in a good spot until the very end where you said he was nothing. So no, it's Mark, we appreciate you being a guest. And of course, Lily, thank you so much for being on the show. We love what you're doing and definitely wish you well with everything you got going on with you and your family this next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do what you're really good at and don't wait for someone to pick you.